afternoon, ladies and gentlemen who have joined us on this Dr. Fundi channel via multiple social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and also the Dr. Fundi website. My name is Fundi Lenyati. I am the host on this channel. And today, as part of our series of Salute Sundays, we are here to give a salute to one of our own, Miss Aviwe Matiwane. She is our special guest today. I must declare, also led her to be selected as one of the top 10 finalists in the 2016 FAME Lab competition, the annual science communication competition run by the British Council, South African Agency for Science and Technology Advancement, and the Giant Media Africa. She was also chosen as one of the Mail and Guardian's top 200 young South Africans in 2018. She's also received accolades for her Masters in Science and PhD research. She has got strong passion for science communication, education, outreach, and women empowerment. She's passionate about women in STEM, that is science, technology, engineering, and maths. And she's inspired by her grandparents, Benjamin Matiwane and Nomzamo Matiwane. So that is our special guest today, Aviwe. Other people, they just call her Avi. Aviwe, welcome to the Dr. Fundi channel.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, Malome. Yeah, it's not nepotism. We can tell them that.
Yes, well, if I don't feature somebody that I know who's done such great things just because she's from my family, who's gonna do it? We must show ourselves to those that we know who are actually doing great things. Anyway, thank you very much. Now, just looking at your name, Aviwe. Now, in the Xhosa culture, we don't just give a name to a child. There is a reason, there is a significance, to the name.
Yes.
So Aviwe means they have been listened to.
Yes.
All right? They have been listened to. Who has been listened to?
My ancestors have been listening to the call for a grandchild, Aviwe. So Aviwe, I think the name was given by my grandmother. So my grandmother named most of us at home. And the second name, Ulwanda, I was given by my mom, I think. And then Unosipo by my grandfather. And but I mean, I go by a whole lot of names at home. No one calls me different, like they call me different things. So from Lala, Bapatane, Novenchu, all of those names I get called at home. So everyone has a special name for me that they call me by.
Yeah, and you are cool with all of those names.
Oh, yes, I am.
They come from a good part.
They do.
All right, so your ancestors, now, I understand your clan name, right?
Yes, I think that's where I get Nkaniam as well.
Yes, you see, because they want to destroy you, but you just keep on.
Exactly.
You're resilient like that.
Yes, yeah.
So anyway, and so you are the grandchild of Abopela, but also you are a grandchild of Abopele,
Yes.
Because your grandmom was Umampele, Opele, Olanga, Odlambula,
yes.
So you actually have got double contribution to Ingani, because even from your grandmom's side, you are very stubborn like that,
Yes.
So we expect you to even be more stubborn. In a way that
it's a combination.
Exactly. All right, Avi, I've invited two of your aunts to join us, as we have our conversation today.
Yeah.
They are just going to be listening watching
Yes.
our interaction, but towards the end of the interview, I will also ask them to just, say one or two things about the Aviwe they know, the child who grew up in front of them, and what they think of you with all the accolades that you keep on collecting and the many that are still coming your way, going forward, right? So, but just to help the people who are watching, I kept on talking here about paleontology,
Yes.
That's a big word. Can you just simplify it for people like us who are lay in your field? What is paleontology?
Can I just put a disclaimer first? The disclaimer is you will see my dogs move up and down so that people should not be shocked because it's their home as well. So paleontology is basically the study of the past, and we study fossils from different time periods. So from 500 plus years and to the recent past, so fossils have been found in different time periods, and that's what we study. So I'm just giving you a broad explanation because there's much more to unpack from that. Yeah.
Yes. And well, obviously, as somebody who was going to be interviewing you, I had to also just look and get the definition there. So they say it's a scientific study of life of the geologic past that involves the analysis of plant and animal fossils, including those of a microscopic size, that is, you can't see with a naked eye, preserved in rocks. It's a study that's concerned with all aspects of biology of ancient life forms, their shape, their structure, their evolutionary patterns, the taxonomic relationships, that word again, taxonomic relationships with each other and with modern living species, geographic distribution, interrelationship with environment, and then they say it's a study that's mutually interdependent with stratigraphy and historical geology, because fossils constitute a major means by which sedimentary strata are identified. I think it's getting too technical.
So that's
for an average person. But in essence, it's a study about our past as humanity, as Mother Earth, how things used to be many millions or hundreds of years ago. And you guys go out looking for evidence of how life used to be those days. And some of the evidence is found on the stones and the other things that come from that time. And you guys use your scientific ways to then make sense of those things so that we can better understand. And as I was reading, I also got to understand that this field has also been useful in industries like the oil industry, because those are what are called fossil fuels. So you guys, by doing what you do, you actually identify areas where countries can be able to know where to drill to find oil, which other people they call the black gold. So the uses of your study is actually quite broad. But when I pose something called paleobotany, tell us what is paleobotany.
So paleobotany is the study of fossil plants, right? And so the plants that you just talked about are the ones that I'm actually studying. So they are called Glossopteris, and they formed our oldest coal deposits in the country. So electricity that we have is thanks to them. I mean, you can name anything from the clothes, any byproduct is from those plants that lived millions of years ago. So
just come back to this thing about coal and stuff. Just come back to that part. Yeah. Just go back there.
So they formed our oldest coal deposits, right? So these were massive trees. So from millions of years ago. So they occurred during the Permian. So the Permian is a period that is 299 to 252 million years ago. This was before there were humans, and this was before there were dinosaurs. So that's the period that we're talking about, and that's when the plants occurred. So they formed the deposits of our coal, and these trees were about 2 stories high.
Yeah.
And they occurred like in Gondwana. So Gondwana is a supercontinent that consisted of Africa, India, Antarctica, South America, and Australia.
Yes.
So it was found along Gondwana. And because it was found in Gondwana, it helps support the theory of continental drift, that all these land masses were one.
Yes.
So it has played like a huge contribution, not only to our understanding of the formation of the Earth, but also to the formation of these coal deposits that we find, and also to our understanding of what life was like millions of years ago.
Yeah. All right. So I said you are you're studying paleobotany, right?
Fossil plants, yes.
So fossil plants.
Yes.
Right? Okay. And when we were chatting before this interview, you told me that you are the only paleobotanist in the African continent, right?
Yes.
That is a black one. Black paleobotanist in the African continent. But there's 3 of you, if we include people of all races, and one of those is your supervisor, and the other one is the supervisor to the supervisor. So you are gate crashing a space that very few people have actually gone into. Why the interest in that space?
It's quite amazing, because I have never been a person that conforms to the norm. I've always been interested in different things, things that drive my curiosity, and things that make me think and question just everything, And I remember it all started when I was young, with my grandfather teaching me all these plants. And he taught me about medicinal plants. So my grandfather has a gift of going to sleep, waking up, and having some dream that shows him what he can use for whatever he's suffering from, and it would help him. So he'd take me on walks, would disappear together, and he'd show me around like nature and stuff. So I think from a very young age, my interest in nature as a whole, was instilled by my family, and in the form of my grandfather. And so that interest stemmed from there. And moving forward, I mean, I got to primary school, and I've always been this loving nature person. But I mean, I remember my one goal when I wanted to grow up, when I thought my profession would be when I'd grow up, was to become a vet, because that's exactly, my point. So
I want us to move slowly. I want people to go with us nicely. We're gonna get to your interest in animals.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Let's go back to grandfather, who has a gift, where he dreams of medicinal plants.
Yes.
And he wakes up, and he would then go to the forest or to the field to actually go and dig these plants. Now,
Yes.
you grew up with your grandparents.
Yes.
You would then tag along with him from
Yes.
early age.
Yes.
That too to you, in terms of appreciation of nature.
I think it put one up for me, like a step high, in the sense that I started thinking about things that people didn't think about, or I started noticing things that people weren't aware of. So, for example, I can't just walk nowadays without looking at the ground and seeing the flowers, or looking up and seeing birds, or the trees that I see, or looking at rocks. I mean, now I walk around, I see my fossils everywhere because my mind is trained to look for fossils.
Yeah.
So, so that actually helped me as a person growing up to have aspirations of looking at the world differently, understanding the world, understanding where we come from, understanding, like a whole variety of things. And my appreciation for nature, comes from the fact that my grandfather, well, that's the first thing that my grandfather used to say when we grew up: you can't eat unless the animals have eaten, So we'd have to feed the animals first at home, then we can eat, So as well as my grandmother taught me that you have to take care of animals, you need to be, loving. It's not just we eat them or whatever. There's more to to nature and love than just the normal thing that we only think of, which is food.
Yeah. Still on the grandfather, space.
Mm-hmm.
That thing of him getting these dreams, going to dig up these medicinal herbs,
Mm-hmm.
and you being there with him, obviously there was some knowledge and skills transfer
Yes.
that happened from his generation to you. Now, from a spiritual point of view, what do you make of that?
I think it's quite interesting because, I mean, I'm a scientist, and I get asked this all the time about spirituality and the belief in science. And I think there's nothing wrong with believing in both, We don't understand everything as scientists, as academics, as people around the world. I mean, we don't know much at all. So if some things can be explained by another, why are we not embracing it? Because I mean, from a very long time ago, we were, as Black people, scientists in our own right, from being astronomers, looking at the stars, and all of those things. We've always appreciated nature, and we've always appreciated a whole lot of things, So I think combining the two has always been a fundamental thing for me, because I'm none without the other.
Yeah. And I mean, the fact that, you touched on the fact that as Africans, for long, we've actually been scholars, and the manuscripts that our former president, Mbeki, worked very hard for them to be restored in Timbuktu, in Mali, from ancient universities, are actually testimony to the fact that as African people, we have for a long time actually been involved on matters of science.
Yes.
The Egyptian pyramids and all of those kind of things. And so I agree with you that actually it's not either or, but how to complement one without the other, because the answers are not all in one area. Maybe the answers are broadly, in the combination of the two. But let's go back, and then you just touched on the issue of animals, your love for animals, and that anytime now there might be a gate crasher there, from your household. But let's go back to your love of animals.
Yes.
Right? To your love of animals, where did it start? When did it start? When did you have your first dog?
This is quite a difficult question for me because my first memory, actually my first ever memory, is of me getting a dog.
Yeah.
And I remember I was Sasi Salehagyu during that time.
Yes.
And I was fast asleep, and then my aunt Unontle woke me up, and she was like, "No, my grandfather got me something," you know.
Yeah.
And I think I was 3 or 4 years old. I'm not sure, but that's like the oldest memory that I have. And she told me to look by the curtains, and there was a small dog, right? And he was peeing, you know. So that's the first memory that I have. And he was my first dog, and his name was Chiefs, you know. And from then on, I started getting, you know, like dogs from my grandfather, and my family did not understand what it was. You know, they were like, it's ja, you know, and stuff. And I was just like, you know, I loved animals. And then I remember when I started primary school.
Yeah.
No, it was play school actually. My grandfather took me to school, and my teacher at that time had 2 Scottish Terriers. One was white and one was black. I fell in love with the black one.
Yeah.
And this was my first day at school. I cried when my grandfather came to pick me up. Yeah. I cried and I cried and I cried, and I said, I want the dog, you know, I'm not leaving without the dog. So my grandfather had to make a deal with my teacher at that time, then from the Fort Gale at some school. And he had to make a deal with the teacher and say, this is, she wants it. I don't know what happened, but basically we left there with the dog. Oh. And then I got home. When I got home, I remember getting out of the car, and so my family was looking from the kitchen. They're like, who I've was the cat, you know, I've was for a cat, you know, because it was black and fluffy, you know. Yeah. And you know, and from then on, I've had like animals. Okay, so her name was Umanikinike, and then I had Upobi, and then I've had so many dogs in my life until even now. I don't remember a time when I've never had a dog. There was never a time in my period. Even, I mean, Nangona and Queenstown, I had a dog. It was I've always had dogs and cats. So I've just never been. I mean, like unolali and they're like the
a rural girl.
I'm a rural girl, yeah, but and so like you know, like loving animals, loving the nature, because that's where I grew up and that's where I feel comfortable in. I mean, I'm not a city person. I just go there for, you know, when I have to, but to the core.
Yeah. So let's get to that. Yeah. So you were born, you know, or you grew up in a small village outside Mthatha,
yes.
In a village called Lower Ngwaga. All right.
Yes.
Emabomvaneni, right? You know, most in the Eastern Cape, you've got Tembuland, Pondoland. You know, your area in Mabomvane under the leadership of Holomisa. Am I right?
Yes, but there's also it's like it's a mix, you know, because umalume wam lo uyinkosi same sort of like similar area, and then Bekwamakwasibe who are where we are staying, you know, and then Holomisa get close to Coffee Bay and when you go that side,
But basically, la area you know, Mabomvane, God.
Yes.
All right. So you grew up. Can you just describe to people the kind of place Lower Ngwaga is?
Okay, Lower Ngwaga. Yeah, today or in the past?
In the past, I don't think there is.
Okay.
Has there been much of a difference between when
there has been a difference because there's more houses now than there were in the past, you know.
Okay.
I remember when I was young, and because I grew up in the church with my grandmother, so there was that aspect of, there's the traditional side and then there's the Christian side, you know. So I used to go to church almost every single day with my grandmother. It was one of the most frustrating things I can remember as a child, because I'd be dragged to church all the time. Monday, Tuesday, some meeting or whatever, she would be there, you know. So Loangwaga is an area where I would say is a rural area, basically. And I think, well, in my village, most of us are related in some way or other, you know. I mean, you have my grandmother and her sister who are also, you know, who stay in the same village. And then you have grandmother and also one of her cousins staying, you know, just like his neighbor. So you have someone also, like, it's sort of like a family, you know.
But for people who've never been to a rural village, like, just describe what it is. I mean, there's no running water. You know, there's no sanitation, like, you know, and all of that. Most people fetch water from the river.
Exactly. You know? So I grew up like that as well. You know, I mean, waking up at odd hours in the morning, and there was no difference for me between a boy and a girl, because then so Lusa when I was young. You know,
explain what that is.
I used to herd cattle and sheep. You know, and when I was young, and I remember even like I used to help go into the forest and chop wood, you know, and I used to take a bucket and go get water. We used to wash water by the river, you know, all of that. I mean, I remember like, and my fondest memory is catching crabs in the river, you know, because we used to thought that they had money, like in So someone told us that the crabs have money and they have a wallet on their chest, you know. So catch crabs and try and open up to see if there's money, you know. And so that's how I grew up. And I mean, growing up as well, going to the river, playing with the, you know, with the sand and the dough, making, you know, figures and all of that. And I remember also at some point my grandfather had a horse, and all of that, you know, and just the appreciation of being, you know, and being with less, you know. And now it's now like so modern, you know. I mean, you go to my house, it's plumbing everywhere, you know, there's electricity, you know, it's everything is just like modernized, which is not bad, you know. I mean, we're living with the times, but where you go, the funny thing is, in my where my grandfather comes from, where my aunt is a chief, there are areas with no electricity, because people still believe that electricity is going to cause the ancestors to run away. So, so there's no electricity. Like, it's so weird. You'll be driving, like when I go and visit my great grandfather's home, you'd be driving and then you'd see like, oh, poles, like ESCOM, and then all of a sudden, like they a huge, you know, detour elsewhere, or they stop, like, I mean, like it's so it's been very interesting, because as well, I mean, I grew up being traditional, you know, attending all these ceremonies and everything. So I think a lot of that has never faded in me. And so that's why I have a huge appreciation for nature, because I come from a place where nature is also, you know, viewed as a whole, and you know, it's just one of those things, and I really appreciate it. It's been my life, and but
and I mean, you know, again, if one zooms in on African spirituality, the appreciation of nature, because water, the mountain, the hill, you know, all of these things that we find there in nature, they've got a, you know, a role
Yes, they do.
in our lives, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as a Black person, we're always navigating life between the African way of
Yeah,
doing things, and also obviously, you know, Christianity, or in other parts of the continent, it could be, you
mm,
know, Islam. But we're always, you know, navigating between the two, and that's what
yeah,
makes us who we are. But what
exactly.
advantage has your growing up in the rural areas, you know, given you in the work that you do? Yes, obviously, you said you appreciate nature more, which
Mm,
makes it a little bit better than somebody who grew up as a city slicker. Yes.
mm. It's actually made me appreciate, you know, I have so many things that I am grateful for having grown there. Firstly, I appreciate the fact that my grandparents pushed for an education, you know. Uh, I appreciate the fact that I've been saved from a lot of things because of not necessarily being naive, but I was never, you know, into them to begin with. And uh, I mean, it's made me appreciate, like, the one thing that I love is my family. It's made me appreciate family more than anything, you know, because I mean, those are the people that I run to. Those are the people that, you know, take care of me. I mean, I must admit, for me, growing up, I've been spoiled, you know, being the first grandchild, you know, I
Yeah.
get in the way, you know, telling on my aunts and my mom to the grandparents so I can get stuff, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Made me appreciate, like, the family home, the family system. It's
Yeah.
made me appreciate just a whole lot of things. Working hard, you know, to achieve your goals, you know, because nothing is literally given to you. You have to
Yeah.
work hard for it.
Yeah.
And one thing that has also made me appreciate is the fact that I'm me. There's no other me.
Yeah.
And it has it has molded me into the person that I am. I
Yeah.
mean, growing up being told that you're weird, you know,
Yeah.
because you have a different idea about life and how to live your life. I
Mm.
still get that nowadays, you know. They're like, yo, highway now, you know, funny, you know, you weird, you know, and stuff.
Weird. Why? What are the kind of things that
Because
you'll be pointing at?
first of all, I mean, like, the biggest thing is the dogs, you know. That's the one thing that a lot of people are like, oh, my messenger, you know,
Yeah.
you love dogs, you know, and why do you have to, you know, sit, like, I love the moon, you know.
Yeah.
So my family was, I just take, at night, I take a chair, I sit. If there's a full moon, I sit, I look at the stars as well, because I love reading, you know, constellations and stuff.
Yeah.
And so I have I have not just been focused on one thing. I've learned to appreciate the whole, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and it's just been how it is in my
Yeah.
life.
Yeah. So if you take us to maybe your first, you know, preschooling years, you know,
Mm-hmm.
what kind of upbringing was that? You know, what can you remember uh, before you actually started schooling? You know,
Mm. I
more,
remember.
I'm more focusing. I want to understand more the early influences from that period. You know, you growing
Mm,
up, you know, with the grandparents and whatever early influences there
mm.
before you started schooling.
Growing up for me was a bit sheltered, you know. I think most of my growing up was from, you know, I've always gone to, you would say, your Model T schools, your from a very young age, you know. My
Yeah.
grandfather making sure that I had the best education,
Yes.
and my family making sure that I had everything that I needed.
Yeah.
So my memories of from, let's say, grade one, you know,
Yeah.
uh, are literally happy memories from dog. Only the only memory that I have that is horrible. I remember we were getting vaccinated at school because they used to do this max vaccination a long time ago. So I remember that, and that's the only bad memory I have when I was young. But everything else was like literally, I used to be dressed up by Unansika, by my aunt, as a like any like she used to dress me up whichever way she wanted to, because when I stayed with my grandparents, my grandmother used to dress me in a dress and pants all the time, like all the time, a dress and pants, whether it's cold or hot, a dress and pants. And I remember this actually caused a huge argument at home when I grew up. I remember she was sitting in the lounge and she was looking at me and she said, "Oh," and I walked out and I was wearing a short dress. And then my grandmother was like, are you going to go out like this? And then my grandfather was like, who's she married to? Who's she married to?
Yeah.
And my grandmother was like, yeah, like I'm just asking, no longer, like how it was a long time ago. So, I mean, even my uncle, my late uncle, oh my word, Ulio, he he was just amazing. He was a dad. He protected me from everything. His name for me was Nolala. And him and I were very close. And I remember when he passed away, I thought, who's going to stand up for me at home? I mean, I could get away with anything. Like, I would get away with anything, and he would stand up for me and he'd talk, and stuff. And he made sure that I think I've been privileged to actually have a family that is so supportive and so caring, because when we stayed in Queenstown, he would never let us take a bus or a taxi. He would drive from Tata, come and pick us up and take us back again after holidays. So this was like the life that I lived. It was a very nurtured life. And I mean, not to say I don't come from a rich family. I think a lot of people will think, oh, she's from a rich family. No, it's the nurturing and the caring and the love that a family has. And for to actually be willing to sacrifice so much, their children, to further their education, to do better and be better people in the world, that is more fundamental than anything. Because I mean, they always are the advocates of forging your own life and your own career path. I have never ever been put under pressure to do something I do not want to do.
Yeah. And I understand your aunt, Unomakosa, played a big role, in those early years.
Yes.
Because your mom was working in a different town, about 150 or 200 kilometers away.
Yes. So I grew up with my grandparents and my aunt. So my aunt, I knew as my mother from a very long time. I still call her Mama Nangoku, because I grew up with her. And she brought me up when I was young. And I remember I thought she was my mom because I didn't know who my mom was. And my mom used to tell me stories of how she would come and visit me during the weekends, and wouldn't know her. That's my biological mother, I mean. And I wouldn't know her. And she would, I would take all the nice things from her and then run away and go to my real mom and stuff. And I remember the one thing that I think I'm still mad about until today. When I was young, I used to, the first thing getting back from primary school, after being picked up by my grandfather, my uncle, I'd want my bottle. I'd want my bottle, and I used to drink the bottle until like quite some time. I'd want my bottle, and then this one night, she took the bottle and said, "A baboon took it."
Yeah.
And for me, I actually think that was real, because I remember when I was young, when she took the bottle, I could see a black shadow. I was, mid sleep. So for me, it seemed as if, oh yeah, the baboon actually took 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 the bottle. But I'm still mad at her, about that, because I thought, it would just stop. But I mean, it took me some time to actually stop. But it had to be done.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Let's move forward. So you spent 12 years or so of your schooling based in a town called
Queenstown.
Queenstown, right? Just quickly, any highlights from there? Because now my focus is towards the direction that you eventually took.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I went to Southbourne Primary School, and then I went to Balmoral, and then I went to Queenstown Girls High. So, I mean, during that period as well, I have always been, I was always an active person, in my primary school days. I used to run because I used to be like small and skinny, and that I enjoyed sports. What I loved. And so my life then was actually quite nice. And then I remember we used to stay where I stayed as Meleni, my mom's house. We stayed in the last street, and the last street had like a bushy area, a thicket, known as a thicket, like you were to classify it. And I remember, I used to play there, because I thought it was such an amazing place. And I remember I had a friend from next door, Sylvie, where we used to be so inquisitive. I mean, we'd go to, the gullies, and look for stuff there, go to, if it rained, after it rained, would like to, run around in the field, and play there. So it was quite a very interesting time for me. And also academically, I remember, like, I used to be one of the top students, in high school. I was being different again, coming back to being different. I remember when I was in high school, from grade 10 up until grade 12, I wanted to do computer science, and computer science was not offered in my school. It was offered in the boys' school, Queen's College. So the principal went to talk to the other principal, so I was able to actually do computer science. So I was the only girl that was doing computer science at Queen's College, and I think a bulk of them actually did business studies, and was just never interested in all of that. I just wanted something totally different. So whole theme of curiosity and and thinking differently just stemmed from a very young age.
And not being phased to do something that other people are not doing, because you've always wanted to be unique.
Exactly. Yes, but I mean, like, when you're young and you're different, sometimes you question yourself, as in, am I really supposed to be like this? Why am I not like so and so? And I think as I've grown up, I've learned to accept myself for who I am. And this has actually put me in a good standing in terms of my life and how it's actually come out, because I'm different,
Yes. Right. So you hinted earlier that you actually wanted to be a vet at a certain point. Can you just quickly tell us about how that dream was shattered by some experience that you got that made you realize that this is not me?
So my mom, Noma Klosane, had organized an apprenticeship for me, with the local vet, Tata. So I would go there and work there during the holidays. And it quickly dawned on me that I was a crybaby and I hated blood. So I remember my very first day at work. I'd say work. I There was a dog. I remember it was a white, fluffy Scottish Terrier
Yeah.
that was sick, you know. And I remember crying and sitting by the cage, and the vet was like, "How are you going to, be a vet if you can't be strong and take care of animals?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "No." And then I remember he had me observe one of the operations where he was spaying a dog, and I just realized, no, this is not for me. I mean, even now, when my dogs get sick, I cry.
Yeah.
I'm like, because I really don't know.
Yeah.
So I would have been the worst vet ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, but then, it was good of your aunt to actually
Mm.
expose you to
Yeah.
what you thought you wanted to do. And that's
Yes.
the value of nowadays, what they call, take a girl child to school. It's normally
Mm.
during May, because it then helps kids to actually decide whether it's actually something I want to do or not. Because had you not
Mm.
had that exposure, maybe you would have gotten there. I can see our guest there behind you.
His name is Thanos. And
Thanos.
his sister is right next to me. She's listening to the interview. Yes.
Yeah, 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 yeah. All right. No, welcome to them. Right. Okay. So let's move fast.
Mm.
You finished your matric. I'm
Mhm.
assuming that you did well. To a point where you could then, look at a tertiary qualification. So
Yes.
reading about you on the NRF National Research Foundation,
Mhm.
profiling about you, they say you obtained both your BSc honors and the Masters of Science degrees at Rhodes University,
Mhm.
studying forest biodiversity and ecology.
Yes.
And you
Mhm.
were funded by the National Research Foundation,
Mm.
through your supervisor, Prof. N. Baker Grant.
Mm.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, it just that part that was still botany, right?
Mm.
It had nothing to
Yeah.
do with
No.
paleontology.
No.
Yeah,
No.
just briefly about that.
So when I started my honors, I was approached by Dr. Nigel Barker to do a project with him, and I decided, okay, fine. What project, and he had all these projects that he offered, and I fell in love with the nature part of the projects. So
Yeah,
he had diverse from genetics, because I thought I was going to do like systematics and genetics,
yeah,
and when he described a project, so one of the projects was me working in Lesotho, and then there was another project for me to work in the coastal area, and then there was another project where he said I can look at forest biodiversity in the Eastern. So I was like, okay, this is what I want to do, because forest, it still links to what I enjoyed when I was young, and it tied in with a lot of things. And I thrived there because it's what I knew, it's what I had experienced from a very young age.
yeah,
And I loved it, I mean, I was working in the whole of Eastern Cape, traveling, seeing places I've never seen before,
yeah,
and just looking at plants, identifying plants in different forests,
yeah,
working on testing soil, looking at the weather, answering questions as to why you see different plants in certain areas and others not. It was a very fun time for me, and I really, really, really loved it. And I mean, I remember uh, the person who actually helped me a lot was my grandfather as well when it came to choosing some of the forests, because
wow,
my grandfather, has traveled around Africa,
yeah,
and and he has done like a whole lot of things in Africa. And one of the things that he was doing was building schools and hospitals and stuff around Africa.
yes, 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 yes,
So now he knew about forests because that's his thing. So he would tell me, "Oh, there's this forest here. Have you tried it?" And I'll be like, dotting down, and you'd find that yes, it's I have to go there. I have to explore that.
mm,
And then remember, I didn't tell him about one forest that I went to, and then it was June holidays, and we were back home, and I was showing him pictures. And he was like, "No, you've been here?" And I'm like, "Yes." And then I told him the story of how the locals, came out afterwards. After we came from the forest from doing the work.
Yeah.
The locals were like, guys, why did you go in there? There's a huge snake, in that forest, and you could have been hurt and stuff. And that's exactly what my grandfather said. He said, he's known of there's been a snake, in that area that, the locals talk about, a monster, And we literally spent the whole day there. We got there at 9 o'clock and got out of the forest at 5 p.m. So just the whole day there and working, and then coming out and being greeted by the village, thinking that no, they were going to send a search party to to see if we actually had made it out or if we were safe.
Yeah. Of course, that forest.
No, ipana yinatsika igulandoda.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I'm mentioning Guadana because there's a belief that there are people who are there who are supposedly dead.
I think the theme also transpires around the villages, like in the rural areas, wherever there's a forest, people always associated with some sort of spirit or or something, and it's just linked with us as Black people. Yeah.
All right, so you enjoyed your time with biodiversity and ecology and all of that. But then you started volunteering to do some, to go to the Albany Museum. Talk to us about that and how you ended up with Dr. Rose Prevesh.
So I was writing up my master's. It was my final year in my master's, and I was so frustrated and I wanted to, do something different. So the first thing that I did was I volunteered as a mentor for first years in a program called Dani that the university had. So as a mentor, I had a supervisor, right, who I had to report to on a bi-weekly basis. So on the first interview, not on the first meeting I had with that supervisor, he was based in the geology department. And I walked up the passage and up the stairs, and there were all these footprints, on the walls, and there were all these rocks and stuff. And I waited outside his office, and I remember he was in an interview with someone. So I started walking up and down the passage. And then got to a cabinet that had, these fossil plants, and I was like, wow, I was shocked that there was even, such a thing. And after our meeting, he asked me what my interests were and stuff. And I told him what I was interested in. And I also said, I actually think I'm more interested in what's being shown, like in the cabinet, who does this work, because this is something I'm actually interested in right now. And then he got me in touch with Dr. Rose Previck. So Dr. Rose Previck is my supervisor now for my PhD. And she helped me in terms of finding my feet. So would take me into the field with her to look at fossils, try and find fossils to see if it is exactly what it is that I wanted to do. And her passion and her love for the work actually made me want to do the work. And then eventually I got there, and I got a bursary and funding from the NRF, the DST NRF Center of Excellence in Paleobotany. And then I got some research funding from PAST, and also Rhodes came aboard. So it was like a huge thing for me. So that's how I got started in paleo. I was never a paleontologist to begin with. There's only one university that offers paleontology as a degree option, and that's WITS, And so I had to go through other means. So I was first part of the geology department when I started my PhD, and then my supervisor and I moved to the botany department because even the dean didn't know where to place me. So he was like, should we should you have a double major in botany and and geology, because I mean there was no one who was doing what I was doing in the university, and eventually we decided with the botany department because I had been already in the botany department. I was more comfortable with the environment, so I moved there.
All right. So you decided you are going to focus on fossils, plant fossils, all right, which is the paleobotany work. All right. And so obviously you are doing a PhD, you must then have a research focus, right?
Yes.
How did you pick up your research focus?
So my supervisor, right, was working on the plant that I'm working on right now, the fossils that I'm working on. But she was looking at the fertile structures, of that plant. And no one, wanted to look at the leaves because, like I said, they're very challenging. And guess who they put to work on the leaves? Me. To work on the leaves, actually. I was like, okay, fine. I'll take what other people don't want to work on. And I've actually realized how difficult the leaves are. They're so difficult, and to work with. And but that's the beauty of my project. I'm a plant detective, I try to put things together, and I'm basically trying to find, I'm describing a flora. So I'm describing fossil plants from Middle Permian in South Africa. So Middle Permian is about 265 million years ago, let's say, right? And so I'm describing fossils from a site in Sutherland. And, so those fossils...
Is it the same Sutherland that normally has temperatures of less than the coldest place in South Africa?
Yes. Yes. So I work there on a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful area called Oberg Pass. It's to dive, like the view, my office is absolutely amazing, I mean, the fossils were discovered close to a road cutting. And so Oberg Pass is an area that is mostly used by bikers, people who like road adventure travel and stuff. So it's actually, and it's got like a spectacular view. You see like from far away. I mean, even the walk down that area is amazing. But the reasons that actually motivated us to work in that area is because there's been so much work done in the area that there's firstly, a long time ago they used to say that there are no plants found in that area, so you would never find any plants because most of the plants that were found were like, they'd find like a leaf or a fragment or something from that site, and they said there would never be a flora and stuff, but then one was found. With previous work being done there for years on vertebrates, so there's a team at WITS that we work with as well from the Evolutionary Studies Institute, and they are mostly vertebrate paleontologists. So they work on the therapsids. So the therapsids are the ancient ancestors of reptiles and mammals, and so they work on those, and they had for years been finding fossils there. So and it was a great thing. And then also there was work done with by another scientist who did, because there's ash there, so who dated the ash. So we had an exact, like sort of like a date for the area. We already had like fundamental the basis of some of the evolution and and patterns of things that actually happened there. So, but there was a huge gap on what the animals ate, for example, what the the fossils around there were like. So with finding all of that, those fossils, I'm actually describing those fossils. So that's what the bulk thing of my PhD thesis is, describing the first Middle Permian fossil site in South Africa. And so we're discovering new things from insect fossils, from leaves, from, you know, like things that were never found in the area before, or anywhere, you know, in South Africa. And also one of the other sites that I work on is in KZN. It's called Kwayaya. So you have one in the southern part of the basin, and then you have another one in the eastern part of the basin. So Kwayaya is the late Permian, you know, so it's much younger site than Oberg. Yes. So the aim there was to actually look at diversity of plants, you know, from different time periods, you know, and also different localities and different, you know, environments, you know. So so that's also like forms part of the whole thing. I never did field work there. I work on collections that were taken by my supervisor. So I've described those, I'm re-describing those plants. She did an initial description, published, and then I'm doing a thorough you know, analysis and description of that. And then what I'm doing is the biggest contribution obviously is to understand the fossils, the leaves, you know, because no one wants to work on the leaves. I mean, it's a headache, because I mean, you look at across Gondwana, I mean the places that I mentioned. You look at India. In India they have almost like 200 names, you know, of Glossopteris, the plant that I am working on. And that can't be possible, you know. It just, you know, we don't think it's like that, you know, because people don't work with bulk collections. They work with what they find. So you find that some people describe a leaf that they've got now, and then describe another leaf that they have, without doing and looking at a, you know, a broader picture, that there might be variation, there might be a whole lot of things that influence, you know, the interspecific variation that you see in these plants.
Yes. So what you are doing is this. So this thing about taxonomy is basically this description of the different plants from then, and giving them names.
Yes, and giving them names, that's like the basis of it. But also I am using stats to try and see if the patterns that we see are making sense, and if they are being picked up by computer programming, you know. So it's easy for me to just group plants together thinking they're the same, you know. But are the stats saying that the groups that I've made are the same? You know, so so we're using stats to you know, to confidently apply you know, our analyses of these plants. And also I'm creating a database. So this database will have all of these you know, these leaves are described, and the database is for, you know, is going to be available for all researchers around the world, you know, to enable collaboration and to also have access to the work that we're doing, and to build more, you know, to build up more. Because I mean, in South Africa, I mean, we have the most wonderful and spectacular fossil heritage that people do not know about. And then I think people need to be aware of that, and that there's more opportunity in other fields than just like the normal fields that are known and publicized by people. There's more to paleosciences than just like the evolution of humans and dinosaurs, that you can study plants, you can study pollen, you can study like a whole lot of things that are not necessarily the norm that people know of in our days.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, you talked about your office has got a lovely view there by the Omude Pass. Now, to another person, that's not a real office, though. You know, like Yeah, it's actually a place that is outside, you know.
Yes, but I mean, in my profession, that's
Yes,
my,
yes, yes, I
because
agree.
I
I agree.
spend the most of the time there, like in the field. And then when I do work, like outside the field, I'm either at the botany department or at the Albany Museum looking at the
Yeah,
fossils.
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, so it's the fun stuff is the field work. The
yeah,
more important stuff, and is the actual discoveries and stuff, and
yes, yes,
making sure they found and they recorded and accessible.
yes. Yeah. So I'm reading again on this NRF thing where you are being
Mm.
asked what's the most exciting and enjoyable part of your work. You're saying being in the field, discovering new fossils and
Mm.
fossil sites. It gives you a,
Yes.
and you have a great team.
Mm.
You guys work together, and you've got support staff that are actually
Yeah.
amazing. You give a shout out to Kolek Atamaku, Sinetemba Maleki, and Nogutula Kom. Who are these people?
Yes. They are our wonderful technical staff at the museum, like in our department. They're hard workers. They prepare the fossils. When we're in the field, they also help with the research. You would say they're researchers, even though they are, the support staff.
Yeah,
Um, they they basically run. I would say they run
yes,
the lab. You know,
yes.
and it's been a privilege and an honor to work with people like those, because they know their stuff. I learn so much from them, and
That that reminds me. Sorry to interject.
mm,
As we are talking about these guys, it reminds me of a gentleman, Mr. Hamilton Nagi,
mm,
who in UCT started assisting with when they were doing animal, operations and stuff like
mm,
that in the
mm,
animal lab. And he
mm.
ended up being somebody who contributed, to what we know as the
Yeah.
great discovery, or the first heart transplant by Chris Barnett.
Mm,
And people
mm.
like those may not have studied like you guys have.
Yes,
Their practical experience comes in straight
exactly.
to them, you know.
Exactly. So, I mean, I've learned, like I said, I've learned so much from them. And I mean, some of the discoveries we've made in the field would not have been possible without them, because they've been doing this for years as well. And, I think also, I mean, they've been so supportive of me and my work,
Yeah,
and they've been supportive, like in general. They
yeah,
are the backbones,
yeah,
of your sciences, because they do all the hard work for us to actually get the fossils already
yes,
pretty and prepped for us to write the papers and stuff. They
yeah,
are there in the background, making sure your dinosaur bones are, are
yeah,
available. They're seen, from the rocks.
yeah,
They do a brilliant and amazing work, and they've
yes.
got a lot of knowledge as well. So yeah.
Now, I mean, you are a woman,
Mm-hmm.
a black woman for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
And what you said in the NRF thing was that the space you are in has traditionally been white male space, right?
Mm.
So you are black, you are
Mm.
also female.
Mm.
What challenges has that brought for you, as somebody who's gate crashing a space that was definitely not very female, friendly?
Okay. Firstly, I want to say the gate crashing part. I don't believe there's a such thing as a great gate crashing, because I
I'm
think
just being
I
dramatic.
know, I know, I know, I know, I know. But just to so that people who are listening not to think that yeah. Um. Uh, what was the question again? Sorry.
So the question was, the environment has historically been male-dominated environment,
Yes. Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
White males, for that matter. So now
Mm,
you come in, you're a black person, but you're also female. Has
mm.
posed any challenges for you, or actually there hasn't been any challenges?
No, there's been quite a lot of challenges, you know. I think, I mean, even in, you just talk in science alone, there's a lot of patriarchy, you know, that you have to deal with all of that. And then at the same time, you deal with the frustrations of being the only person of your race, you know, in a field of your color, and uh, and there's no one to relate to. And then there's the whole thing of support structure, you know, being different, and trying to navigate spaces that not necessarily are inviting and welcoming of a Black person or
Yeah.
people of color, you know.
Yes.
So, I mean, we've had to, you know, you've had to overcome a lot. I mean, I have amazing friends in my field, like in paleo sciences, who are so supportive, and I mean, we encourage each other. We formed our own group, you know, of support structure, and you know, and encouragement. So we need more of that, and that's what we've been doing. I mean, there are a bunch of amazing, inspirational females and males
Yeah.
who support each other, and we want, you know, more people like us to be in the field, you know, and know that there are opportunities in the field, you know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
um, so I guess that's why it has been very important, particularly for me as a science communicator, to make sure that my work is known, and so that people can know that there is a field called paleobotany, you know,
Yes. Yes.
and that fossils are not just, they don't belong to anyone. They are South Africa's fossils. They belong to South Africans. It is our heritage, you know. So everyone can work on fossils, anyone can work on fossils, because paleo in itself is an interdisciplinary field. I mean, I came from botany, and then I did paleobotany, and then you have other people who are doctors who are actually working on, you know, fossils, human fossils, looking at the evolution of that. And then I have a friend called Kim Tommy, who's also been nominated for the Inspiring 50 people. Yes, she looks at locomotion, you know, and bipedalism, something like that. Yeah, walking on the evolution of walking on, you know, 2 feet. Yes, and yeah, and she's a what do you call an anthropologist? Yeah, and I have friends at UCT. I mean, I have one of my friends, Unoma. She is working on hybridization, you know, the evolution of, you know, skulls and stuff, you know. And I mean, I've got lots of people who are working on different things, and who are occupying spaces, is what I can say. But I mean, we need more people to occupy those spaces as well, you know. And uh-huh.
And they are, you know, you said something about some from time to time you go and talk to, you know, school kids about the
Mm-hmm.
work that you do, and they are like spellbound. They can't believe the stuff that you are showing them and the
Yeah.
information that you are able to get out of that about how things used to be many years
Mm.
ago.
Mm. I mean, I think that is like one of my passions, is educating people about what I know, you know. Imparting knowledge is like one of the key things that I think is very important. You should not be stingy with knowledge. You need to give it out, you know. And I love especially interacting with kids more than adults, because I'm sorry, but you guys don't ask the better questions, you know. It's the kids that actually ask, you know, more critical thinking, analytical questions.
Yeah.
And I mean, who can ask you what's your third favorite fossil, you know? Why is this like that, you know? Kids are just amazing, and
Yeah.
it's very important for us to empower them at a much younger age, you know, capture them at a much younger age, because sometimes the passion fades as you go up. So um you need to make them aware of all the possibilities that are out there for them.
Yes. All right. All right. So if there's a parent who's listening here and a child is interested in the type of work that you do, then they can be able to, connect with you on your socials, and when you have time, you could be able to talk to their kids,
Yeah.
and advise them.
So yeah. So for example, on Twitter, I have a Fossil Friday series. So my handle on Twitter is Udemisha. I do a Fossil Friday series where I teach people about fossils and just a whole lot of things about fossils. So it's been very popular there. And also on Instagram, I've got my own personal page, and then I've got a page for my my science communication things. It's called the Paleobotany Queen. So you can DM me or send me messages, and I'll be more than willing, to talk to your kids and stuff. Because I've had like people from all over the world saying, "Oh, my kid wants to be like a paleobotanist, but they've never seen like a paleobotanist or something." And then they're like, "I'm going to show them your pictures," or they'll say, "Oh, on Fridays we always look forward to your Fossil Friday things." And I'm known as the plant detective on social media. So so there's always those interesting things that I like to do, and giving back and paying it forward is one of the key things that I enjoy, And social media has opened like an amazing place, because for example, you get support from researchers all over the world, opportunities stem from there, I think most of my social media presence has enabled me to be recognized in the way that I'm being recognized because of the efforts that I've put in. So social media has brought me together with some amazing people across the world, has brought me with some amazing friends. I've created so many lovely collaborations with everyone across the world. So I've really appreciated that, and I've learned so much from them.
Yeah. And so what's the biggest message that you'd like to send to women who are considering careers in the STEM space?
Women can do whatever it is that they want. We're powerful. You need to make sure that your voice is heard. Shine a light wherever you are, because I think the one thing is you need to realize that your voice will sometimes be ignored, or your voice will try to be lowered so that you don't shine. You're bright in the corner where you are, and you'll see, do anything that you want to do. Follow your passion, enjoy what you are doing, because it shows when you enjoy what you're doing. Because most of the time people get frustrated in jobs that they don't have any passion for, and then you end up being good at it, and you lack the motivation and a whole lot of things. So be who you are, enjoy what you want. And
now, let me put on my hat of being a doctor who's interested on issues of occupational health. Now, what occupational hazards that go with the work that you do in those offices that are out there? Because for me, I've got a fear of snakes. So already I'm thinking, there's some rocks and there's some this. What if there's a snake? And so do you guys go with kits? With anti-venom or whatever, like that. That's one thing that I always think about, because you guys sit there with those hats, white brimmed hats that you have, and and then the shoes that are good, more like the kind of people wear when they are going hiking. But what is snakes?
So the first occupational hazard that you can think of is working with a hammer. So you end up sometimes hitting your fingers and you injure your finger, trying to get to the fossils. And so that's one. And we always have like a first aid kit. The best thing as well is the sun, because you're sitting directly in the sun. the whole day. So you obviously have to put a lot of sunscreen and make sure you hydrate. So we do a lot of that, and I also put a hat on. And then another thing for me are the insects, because I am terrified of insects. It's like, I think my dogs also take after me. Thanos is scared of everything. From you will see him get shocked just by looking at a fly, you know. And I think yeah, so I am so and then there's scorpions and centipedes that you have to be aware of when you're working in the rocks, you know, with the rocks and stuff. So because we've had a lot of that occurring. My supervisor loves snakes, so and scorpions and all of that. So they all go around looking for stuff, and that's just not my cup of tea. I I still have to run away from butterflies. I have to run from a whole lot of things because I'm scared of them. And then I remember this one day, I was sitting on site. Something moved, you know, and I saw it was a snake had come just from above, from the outcrop that we were, you know, working on, and it came directly, you know, to where I was sitting. I just lost it, you know, and I was like, never again. I'm not, like, the whole day that day I couldn't work because I was so traumatized. And it was not even, my supervisor was like, oh, it's harmless, you know, it's like a silver, it was like a small silver thing, you know, a shiny snake. And she was telling me about how, no, it won't harm you, it won't do anything. I think she had to relocate like the thing 4 times before it stopped moving in the area that we were moving in. And then some people have seen snakes in the field, you know, like the more poisonous and dangerous ones. But luckily, I haven't, which I'm so grateful for. But there is, I mean, like when you're walking in the field and stuff, obviously, I'm sure there are snakes there. But if you don't do anything or in a go there in a harmful way, they won't do anything to you. So, but I'm fearful of everything. I remember the one snake that I have seen was a puff adder. It was when I was doing forest work, and I nearly stepped on it, you know. And luckily, I was with my field partner at that time, who had experience in was a field ranger at some point, and I was helping him set traps for the animals that he was going to catch in the forest. And so during that time, we were walking around a dry riverbed. And as I was about to step, he grabbed me and he's like, a puff adder. And literally, as I was about to step, there was a puff adder there, you know, coiled. And then it moved away. And then he said, there's probably a nest because this one is small. And yeah, so that was an experience with a snake.
All right. Anyway, can I just bring in your aunt just to tell us a little bit about you as we go wrapping up? But you can also tell us a little bit about that white bangle there on your left wrist.
Oh, this is a bangle that I got from a traditional ceremony that we had. Your bedla.
Yes.
So we usually have like this huge celebration.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Yeah.
So we usually have this huge celebration in my clan every, I think, 5 years or something. Yeah. And we had the celebration last year.
Yeah.
And we got it from there. So every single time we go there, we get this. Some people, it falls off immediately. For others, it takes some time. So I've had it for a year now.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Auntie Nomaklosa, can you please unmute yourself and switch on your camera?
Yes.
Right.
Hello.
Okay. So that's your other mom, Aviwe.
Yes.
The one who looked after you, especially the first 6 years of your life.
Yes.
That's correct.
Right. Nomaklosa.
Hello.
There is your niece. She is doing great things out there. And can you just tell us a little bit, what kind of a kid was she, in those first few years? And looking at her and her success now, how do you guys feel? I mean, she's the product of your hands.
Yes, indeed. Avi has been an inquisitive child, very lovely. At a young age and a very focused person.
Yeah.
Avi, I'm not surprised by the work she has done up to now.
Yes.
It's typical of her.
Yes.
I knew that she would be somebody one day. Yes. Because she has goals, and when she set up her goals, yes. And I know she'll make sure that she achieves them. Down there, growing up down, because people change.
Yes.
And I was shocked when she didn't take up the vet part of it.
Yes, yes. Thanks to you. Thanks to you, because you took her to a place where she saw that it's not her.
It's not her, because I engaged with who talked about a vet in Amtata, a well-known vet in Amtata. I wanted her to be sure that this is the path that she wants to follow.
Yeah.
Only to learn there was somewhere, it's not her line.
Yeah.
And then my dad also played a very big part into becoming what she is today.
Yes, yes.
But as a child, always asking the why question, and you have to give her an honest answer, otherwise she won't stop.
Like the bottle that you guys took away from her, Natty, it was taken by the monkey. She's still smarting that.
Was old, and I was worried that because it affects the kid once he uses a bottle up to a certain age. Then I had to think of and I make up a story. I said, and I know she's scared of gorillas because she watched a movie there. Then I said, I can use it as an ammunition for her to stop. I said, the gorilla came to pick up to take your and she cried, and I held her in my chest to say to come and no, I'm going to buy another one, knowing that I won't. Otherwise,
no, she hasn't forgotten that experience. That day she still thinks that was not the best thing for you to do to her.
She always reminds me of that.
Yes. And Lendoyake of going to the forest with your dad, how did you find it? Following your dad, going to dig up some herbal stuff, there by the veld or in the forest.
It was kind of scary, but at home we are a spiritual people.
Yeah.
We have that in us. My mom was supposed to be take the path of the Sangoma, but she didn't. Yeah, she opted to go to church and pray.
Yeah.
That's where I was like, hey, this child is going to follow the help side or the spiritual side, the profession. Aviwe had a calling.
Yeah.
I must say. And it showed when she was doing a degree, first degree at UCT.
Yes.
Then being a supportive mom.
Yes.
And I said, we talked with my siblings to say, Avi must come back.
Yeah. Okay.
And she will follow her path going further, but we need to do something at home to support her. And she was crying because she loves education.
Yes.
Then I had to calm it down, be a psychologist to her. I said, my baby, don't worry, you're still young.
Yeah.
You will follow your path, you will follow your studies, you will continue studying, but just let this thing calm down.
Yes. Yes.
that you have, the other spiritual.
So you guys had to do some ritual to ask the
Yes.
beggars to
We beg the ancestors, yes, to leave her till, because I wanted her to have education, and that's what our parents always instills in us.
Yes.
So at least the beggars,
they listened.
They listened.
Yes, yes.
Then
But they won't listen for long. At some point,
I know.
they will insist.
I know.
But, we want you to go and do some assignment.
Yes, I know. But I think being in this field sort of calm her down, and I had to take her to Wusu University. I said, you are going to start.
Yeah.
And you will become somebody one day. Your dreams will come true. I always have faith. I'm a faith person. Dreams do come true, my child. Just forget about the year that it was cut short. But you will be if you are patient.
And look at where she is now. Look at where she is now. So
look at her now. We are so proud of her. We are so proud of her. You know, when it comes to that, I don't have words. She knows we love her as a family. We supported her in whatever. Sometimes she would phone us in the middle of the night crying, this thing. I said, no, Mapetla. You know, like you in nickname, I always say no venture. I think no, Mama, don't go. It's all So
all right. So basically, as that mom who was there from the beginning, molded her, working with her biological mom, with the grandparents, with the other aunts. So the whole concept of it takes a village to actually grow up a child is actually very true with her.
Yes, that is so very true.
Have chipped in to make sure that they mold her to the person that we are now admiring today.
Yes. But it was not an easy journey raising a child like Aviwe. She's so talkative, you know, and she wants to know everything. And growing up, Avi, she's a person who doesn't want to fail.
Yeah.
Always a winner. I remember there was a beauty contest that she entered.
Mama,
no! She didn't win that contest. It was so difficult. And she always wanted to be number one in everything.
Yes.
That's her. And you cannot take that away from her. Well, and so having someone who's so focused, it was not easy, but I managed.
Yes. Let's bring in the other aunt, Unontle. Because again we said it takes a village, and she's the other person who also made sure that she grows up to be the child that you guys wanted it to be. Right. Just hold on. I'm trying to sort out something here.
Okay.
Right. All right. No. All right. I'm just trying.
Gogo is couldn't come. Go.
Okay. She's
my mom.
Oh, okay. Oh, all right. Because let's talk to the cousin. Let's quickly talk to the cousin. They grew up together with Aviwe, and I just want to hear from the cousin. What kind of a cousin has she been? Aviwe nezinjazake, and apparently in the village where you guys come from, people don't understand what kind of dogs are these. They go buy grocery for them, these dogs better than some of the people in the neighborhood. you know, they get vaccinated, they are treated better than human beings.
I'd like to greet everyone. Growing up with Avi, with the central and the animals and everything, like she had so much influence to us in loving animals as well. Those dogs are her babies. I feel over. She doesn't want to hear anything about them. They'll be treated just as much as any other person in the family. They're like family, basically. So even like when I went to grocery shop with her, buying food and the clothes and the medicines and everything, I would feel envious. I'm like, I was never really treated like this. And I would ask for Imali, but hey, these dogs. Sometimes I would be like, hey, I wish I could pinch in and like, let's look for a cheaper alternative to this. But she wants the standard, a good, like the best standard. Yeah, for a dog. So basically, those dogs are family. We've come to learn to love them as well, as much as she.
Of her work, the work that is the trailblazing work that she's doing out there, the recognition, the awards, the everything. You know, what does it do to, you know? I mean, Nikulena, yeah, she is your, you know, she's your cousin. You know, I mean, sometimes the kind of successes that she has had already may actually be overwhelming to other people and almost bafile ngati, you know, we will never be able to match up. But to others, it could actually be something that motivates to say, she has set the bar. Let's also, you know, in our chosen directions, because you don't all have to do the same thing. Whatever that you've chosen to be the best that you want to be. So, Uni, you know, how has her, you know, trailblazing work touched you?
For me personally, she's always been someone I've looked up to, and she's always been my go-to person whenever I wanted to try something. She's always encouraged me to do it and not limit myself. And funny enough, I've followed her into the field. It wasn't originally something that I wanted to do. But I started falling in love with the field. But I'm in the environmental side of the field. She's always encouraged me. I've followed her from Queenstown to Mthatha to Grahamstown. That's how much influence she had in my life, and that's how much I wanted to be always close to her, learning more and more from her. So she's always had that gift or personality to just get people to follow her, to be fascinated in what she's doing and the spaces that she's taking up. So for me, she made me look at the world differently as well. So I feel I'm more versatile now than before. She has introduced me to other possibilities that I had never really thought I would venture into. So
well, she's definitely doing what people talk about when you say lift as you rise. As she is rising, she's also lifting, you know, not only members of her own family, like she said earlier, you know, she enjoys talking to kids. So she's lifting those people who come into her space of influence, you know. So
I remember growing up, she used to create community engagement programs. She used to make contests where would do Mr. Muscle and Mrs. Yes. So we'd get prizes, but there was always something that we could do, and it made us focus on the possibilities and just enjoying the innocence of childhood and just being creative. So growing up, I've always really appreciated what she has done for me and for other people that she's interacted with.
But for you now, you know, just looking at her coming from Lower Ngwaga, right? Lower Ngwaga, Kwabomvan, and she is now the first paleobotanist emnyama in the African continent, you know, and maybe a handful in the world. What does it say, you know, about people and their circumstances and the dreams and stuff? You know, just your take on it.
Yeah. For me personally, it just shows me that whatever you put your mind and you work hard for, you can achieve. Anything is possible. You can break barriers. There are more opportunities now. It's just you have to take that opportunity and make it work for yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
She has shown me courage and to challenge yourself and not limit yourself.
Yes, yes. And that
So,
environment or the circumstances,
yeah,
whether it is deep rural, there's no
yeah.
library there, there's no, you know, paleobotanist that she can talk to there, but
Yeah.
you can achieve anything.
Yeah, she has made me also explain to people what field I went to as well, which is something that I have to always like explain to people because they're not used to it. It's something that not everyone is used to, and people always ask you how did you get to that? And I like the fact that it has made me well rounded in a way that I can also be curious about other fields. So I'm always also trying to learn more, and that she has given me that as well. And
Beautiful.
coming from where we come from as well, I never thought I would change. I've become the person that I am now.
Yes,
basically.
yes, yes. So what message do you want to send to her now? She's listening, she's looking at you. What message do you want to send to her?
Keep being the inspiration.
About her journey of life.
Yes. I'm really proud to be your brother, and I'm proud that you have shown me that there's better options out there. You've given me courage. You've given me so much love, and you've given me like an inspiration, you know. And I'm so proud of the work you're doing. I've always known that you had that in you, and I've always known you're a special person. That's why I was always staying close to you.
Yes.
So I just wish you just keep taking the spaces and making yourself proud, first of all. And you know, we're always proud of you. And yeah, I love you.
Thank you, thank you,
Keep
thank
doing
you.
what you love.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, Tina. Aviwe, you're listening to your cousin, you've just listened to your aunt, you've made them so proud. And I'm sure, you know, your cousin is not just talking for himself, but also the rest of the cousins, the rest of the family. Obviously, we can't put all of them here. Your mom is listening. She's not very well. I think there's some virus, some common cold or flu virus that has attacked her. So she just wanted to be here and listen to everything. I'm sure if she was able to, she would just come out and also share. But she's so overwhelmed by pride, you know, in terms of all of that that we have achieved. Now, as we are wrapping up, there's a story that I liked before we went live about your dog. The one that flats a lot with male dogs. Let's just to wrap up. You know, the thing about the personality of dogs. You talked about the personality, the other dog that got injured, and then you scolded it, and now it pretends that it is injured.
Yeah.
You know, for people to understand that animals, you know, pet animals, you know, like dogs and cats, they actually have got a personality, you know, and yeah, just a little bit about that, away from the fossils a little bit.
Yes. Can you mute Umama, because I think there's sound going on there.
Okay, I've muted it.
So I've got a dog. Well, I've got 2 pit bulls right at the moment. At home, I have about 7 dogs. I've got 7 plus, let's say plus. I'm not going to say the actual number because disclaimer. Most of my dogs are rescues. So I've got 2 pit bulls that stay with me. The pit bulls are very loved by my family as well. All my dogs are loved by my family. But I have 1 pit bull in particular. Her name is Winter Snow. Winter Snow has so many stories. So Winter Snow is my aunt, Unontle, the one who is the Sangoma, who has played a huge role in my life as well. She, she's her baby, and then Thanos, obviously, Ngoyeno Tefayo, like he's the crybaby and stuff. Winter got injured, right? And when she got injured, she was limping, and then she got fine. And then now all of a sudden she's still like, I actually had to scold her when we were playing outside because she was playing really rough with Thanos, the brother. And now she just started limping so that I don't have to, shout at her or scold her or, because she's just she's just being manipulative because she knows we'll cave and love her regardless. And she always has like she's very flirtatious. She likes other dogs, and stuff. So it's she's a handful. Even my grandfather, the one who loves all animals, says, Winter needs to go and stay with you. That's what, it's so weird. Like right now, Winter doesn't want me to call her by her name. She wants the name that my biological mother calls her by. No.
Yeah.
So I have to call her Uswiruwiri. And then when I'm mad at her, I call her Winter. She knows. And then now I have to say Wiruwir. You can't send your kids to the grandparents and then expect them they're going to come back fine. Uthanos also doesn't want me to call him Uthanos. He wants me to say Tenzit, all the nicknames that my mom was giving them. So now it's the same. Even like having like a puppy and taking it home. I remember I had a dog, another Burbul that I had, and I took it home for the holidays and I left it there because I was going to go back and fetch it. I came back, his name was Ranger. By the time I came back, he was Bobby because my grandmother called him Bobby, and it was her favorite dog. And I've loved my influence about dogs and animals on my family because right now, everyone loves them. Yeah.
All right. Now, just now, as we wrap up, Kesisine, looking back now, you are doing amazing things. You are the first, paleobotany scientist in the continent. You are still working on your PhD, but what next? What next? Because I would say you are already an overachiever now, but you can't. I mean, when Jesus died, he was 33 years old, all right? And he had done all his work. When now you are just 33, and you still have so much to do, but you've done a lot already now. So 5 years, 10 years, looking forward, what should we be expecting from Avi? Not as a
yes,
South Africa, as the African continent.
As the African continent. Okay, firstly, I want to actually, my biggest goal is to have a school, right? A school of excellence, I would say, where kids are exposed to different fields in science, and it's more hands-on, and it will be in the rural area, more like a Model C private school sort of situation, but for kids from disadvantaged areas. Yeah. And then, I mean, after becoming the Minister of Science and Technology, I'll probably head somewhere in the UN, yes. And, so I want to be much involved in policy making and making sure that things are paved well for the future generation. But my main focus at the moment is academia, because I really want to impart some of the knowledge that I have obtained to the younger minds in South Africa and Africa as a whole, because would be a disservice for me to move away from not, helping out in any way of that as possible. But also I'll be traveling around. That's my work. I have a lot of collaborators overseas with other potential projects that we have and ongoing projects.
Yeah.
So, but like in the short term now, I have a lecture to give in the University of Minnesota next week. And then in November, I have a lecture in Harvard. So Harvard University. So it's a mix of things. So I'm quite grateful, but
you're working on grants. On Friday, you were busy meeting a proposal for a grant and all of
that. There's a friend of mine that I'm working with in South America. And so she's doing more of a historical thing. I'm a scientist, so we're trying to bring historical science as something in South Africa as well. Yeah. So I'm involved in a lot of projects, and even here at Rhodes, I have projects with other people in the education department, and I'm collaborating with the Deputy Dean of Science. We're looking at the impact of tutorials and on student education and learning. So I'm diverse, and even with my old supervisor, I'm still working with him, Professor Nigel Barker, who is at the University of Pretoria now. So I've got all these projects that are happening, and so I want to gain a lot of knowledge so that when I do get involved into the bigger parts of policy and taking over the world, basically, is to make sure that I'm fully equipped and I have the needs of the people in mind and what they want. I'm not a political person, but I want what's right for people. So
What would you want? Maybe it's too early for me to ask this kind of question, but what would you want to be remembered for? Or what is the kind of legacy that you want to leave, bequeath to Africa? Is it too early to talk about that? But
no, I don't think it's too early, because anything might happen to anyone at any one point. So the first thing at the moment is I want to be known for the person that I am. I want to be known as a loving person. I want to be known as someone who is knowledgeable and willing to, impart with knowledge. The longer term goals as an African is being a pioneer and a support structure for those in need. I want to be known as someone who's in service of other people and pushing other people forward. Because honestly speaking, like I told you, like in the beginning, that I don't like to be in the spotlight. Like before we actually had the interview, this conversation, I prefer having other people in the spotlight and pushing them and having them shine. I don't know how to take compliments well, and so I would rather have other people shine and for me to work in the background and make sure they shine and they have everything. So I mean, my grandmother raised me and my grandparents raised me to be the person that I am. I'm a strong-willed person because of them, and the moral values and family values that I have are because of them, and I am the person I am because of them, like my whole entire family. So it's just been love, and support.
Yes. Mapedla, Kampulan.
Malum.
Amaku. Just I enjoyed interviewing you. I hope other people who've been watching on this interview, they've also enjoyed just getting to know a little bit about you, what makes you tick, where you're going, and all of that, to inspire and motivate others to excel. I like the idea of excellence. There's one thing though that I don't like, and other people don't like me saying this thing, but I always say people should aim for universal excellence. That is excellence. Engenakala. because sometimes I must black excellence, white excellence, excellence across all colors. That's being able to excel at a global level. Yes, we understand the background here too as abantu abamnyama. We have to work a little harder than abanye abantu, but we must aim for excellence. Ekwazi uzimela nje kubona uba excellence, engenakhala. So I want to say to you, keep going. Keep going. I like your quotation, shine in the corner that you are in. I find that in almost all of the bios as Balwengawe, they keep on quoting this thing that you are saying you must shine in the corner where you are. So I'm saying to you, continue shining in the corner that you have chosen for yourself, in the corner that Amapeta have put you in. They did not make a mistake, and therefore continue doing good. It seems like you have identified your life purpose quite early in life, and so you can only succeed. Many people sometimes, they get to their 60s with never understanding why they are here on earth, but it seems like you understand very well, and may you continue to be an inspiration. May you continue to motivate others, and may you continue to make a difference to humanity and to Mother Earth, because your sciences are not just about human beings, are about Mother Earth, and your studies are in paleontology, which is exactly, part of earth sciences. Do you want to say something?
Yes, thank you so much for having me on your platform and hosting me, even though you made me cry. I am absolutely grateful, and as well, I mean, I wouldn't be where I am without having people who inspire me in my family, even in the extended family. Umalmumteto, Pumza, my mother, my aunts, my grandparents. I wouldn't be where I am without some inspiration, because I feel like my family has also set a standard of what excellence is. And I'm motivated because I know there are people who abasebenzayo, who are out there and doing good. So I mean, keep motivating me as well, and I'm really grateful and thankful.
Thank you very much, Siswamke. Thank you, Mapedla. Thank you. Thank you, Aunt Nomakosa. You've been a great mom. Kutwa, by their fruits, we will know the trees. Aditi?
Yeah.
There's something like that, So there's the fruit, Yakoge. So we now know you through that fruit. All right. So thank you very much. And thank you to everybody who joined in on our conversation. It was long, but I hope that you enjoyed, and there's some takeout for each one of the people that have been watching. Thank you very much. And thank you to Umama, Uno Wiza, Mnandimbiza Uno Wiza. Thank you to Uno Wiza. If she had opened the camera yake, we are going to see double, because she and Aviwe, they look exactly the same. It's a clone, even Nala la gap ilapa, everything. And yet she has decided she's not going to be able to do that. But thank you very much to everybody. We appreciate you logging in. Sunday is not a time that is easy to get, people are always busy on a Sunday, but thank you very much. I hope you learned something from Historiska Aviwe. Thank you, and thank you. Thank you.